I want to start with a feeling that I think is pretty universal, but we rarely actually admit to it. It's that nagging sensation that life, despite our best efforts, the calendars, the apps, the career ladder, it feels less like a constructed path and more like a giant unsolved puzzle that someone just dumped on the floor.
Oh, yeah. You think you've got the edges done.
Exactly. You've got the borders sorted out, maybe the sky's filled in, but then you look down and there are these massive gaping holes. Or worse, you're holding a piece that just doesn't seem to fit anywhere.
It is a universal feeling, but I'd argue it goes a bit deeper. It's unsettling because we have this innate drive for completion.
Yeah.
For a cohesive story.
You want it to make sense.
We're hardwired for it. And when it doesn't, when the pieces are just floating, it creates this low-level anxiety that just kind of hums in the background of everything we do.
That anxiety is exactly what we're unpacking today. We are doing a deep dive into a book that tackles this head-on. It's called The Puzzle of You and I. Finding Peace Amidst the Pieces, a How-To Guide.
By Todd Hutchinson. It just came out, 2025.
It did. And honestly, the cover art alone does a great job of visualizing that anxiety we're talking about.
It's really evocative, isn't it? You've got this profile of a child's head, but it's made of all these colorful puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and the striking part isn't what's there.
It's what's missing. The pieces that are floating away or the gaps where you can see right through.
It sets the stage perfectly. But what drew me to this wasn't just the, oh, life is a puzzle idea. It's that Hutchinson offers a really specific strategy. He claims we can find a clear picture for our lives and, maybe more importantly, actually organize the mess.
But before the how, we have to get into the what.
Right.
He builds the whole book around this metaphor of the box and the pieces.
Right.
And we should clarify, he isn't using it in that cliche way of just keep trying till it fits. He starts where every puzzler starts, the box top.
The picture on the box?
Exactly. In his framework, the picture on the box says, well, it's our desires, our dreams, our goals. It's the ideal life we think we're supposed to be building.
Which sounds great, We all want a pretty picture. But here's where it gets tricky, and I'd love your take. Hutchinson points out that the picture on the box is the dream, but the pile of cardboard on the table, that's reality.
And that gap between the box top and the table, that's where all the tension is. There's a real psychological trap there that he alludes to.
What's the trap?
Often the box top we're looking at isn't even one we painted ourselves. It's inherited. It's what our parents wanted or what society says a successful life looks like.
Oh, wow.
So we're frantically trying to force our reality, our jagged little pieces, to match a picture that doesn't even belong to us.
That is a terrifying thought. You're trying to build a landscape and you've got, pieces for a portrait. But Hutchinson also talks about the timeline, which I found really relieving. He says this isn't a weekend project. Some of these puzzles start when we're kids and they continue well into our later years.
It's a lifelong endeavor. But the part of the metaphor that really struck me, and I think this is the core of the book's conflict, is the concept of the dusty box.
Oh man, this part hit me hard. He talks about the puzzles we've just put away.
Right. We all have them. He describes this scenario where you might have one puzzle, say your career, that's beautifully assembled, it's framed, hanging on the wall.
Something to show off.
Yeah, for everyone to admire. But then there are these other boxes, maybe the relationships puzzle or the creative passion puzzle. And you found it too difficult, so you swept all the pieces back into the box, put the lid on, and shoved it on a high shelf to gather dust.
It's the out of sight, out of mind defense, right? If I don't look at the box, I don't have to admit I failed at putting it together.
Precisely. It's a defense mechanism. The dust protects us from that feeling of inadequacy. But his argument is that you can't have true peace. That peace amidst the pieces, he promises, if you've got these dusty boxes haunting the corners of your mind.
That neglected potential. It weighs on you.
Even when you're not looking directly at it.
Yeah. So if we stop hiding these boxes and actually dump them on the table, what are we looking at? Hutchinson breaks life down into 5 specific pillars. And I have to say, when I first read the list, I thought, okay, pretty standard self-help list.
The list itself is familiar. Spiritual growth, physical health, emotional well-being, relationships, and financial security.
Right.
But you're right, the value isn't in the list itself, it's in the interplay. Hutchinson argues these are not separate to-do lists. They are connected pieces of the same puzzle.
Which makes total sense, but it's also where the friction comes in. Because in my experience, these pillars are usually at war with each other. If I really focus on financial security, working late, side hustles, I am almost certainly stealing pieces from relationships or physical health.
That's the zero-sum game fallacy that we all fall into, and Hutchinson really challenges it. He suggests that if you view them as competing silos, you will always feel fractured.
But if you see it as one holistic picture,
Then you realize that, for example, financial security isn't just about money. It's a tool to facilitate emotional well-being or to have better relationships.
I think this is where the author's background actually becomes really relevant. I usually skip the bio, but Todd Hutchinson has a resume that is, frankly, all over the map.
It is a unique combination.
And I think that's why he can talk about this friction so well.
I agree. On one hand, he's been a pastor for years. He still pastors a small country church. So he deals with the spiritual and emotional pillars professionally. He deals with the soul.
But then he's currently in business brokerage and consulting, which is about the most financial, brass tacks, bottom line industry you can imagine.
Exactly. He's straddling the ethereal and the practical. He's not a monk telling you money doesn't matter. He's not some Wall Street shark telling you feelings are for losers. He has to reconcile these things in his own life every single week.
And he didn't just stay in those lanes. He worked in the music industry and film and television. And anyone who knows those industries knows they are just chaos factories.
High stress, high ego, long hours. It suggests he really understands the difficulty of maintaining emotional well-being when your environment is actively trying to crush it.
He's not writing this from an ivory tower.
Not at all. He's writing it from the trenches of a very complex career.
And apparently from the trenches of family life, too. He lives in North Texas, has a wife, a son, and a golden doodle named Miss Pips.
The golden doodle is arguably essential for the emotional well-being pillar.
Absolutely essential. But he also mentions hobbies like hiking and singing karaoke with his friends, which, again, it sounds like fluff, but I think it proves he actually practices what he preaches. With the relationships pillar. He's not just a work and pray robot. He makes time for silliness.
That silliness is actually a critical indicator of a balanced puzzle. If you can't find time for karaoke or, whatever your version of that is, it usually means the financial or career pieces have overgrown their boundaries and are choking out the joy pieces.
So we have the metaphor, the box and the pieces. We have the 5 pillars. We know the author has lived this struggle, but this is a how-to guide. So let's get into the weeds. How do we actually start solving this thing? Because it feels overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, which is why Hutchinson starts with the environment. And this is where some people might roll their eyes, but they shouldn't. The first step isn't make a budget or join a gym.
Okay.
The first step is find a quiet place.
Which is physically difficult for some people, but I think you mean it's psychologically difficult, right?
It is terrifying for modern people. We are addicted to input. Podcasts, news, social media, Slack notifications. Silence is where you have to actually confront the state of your puzzle.
Confront the mess.
Yes. Hutchinson demands you find a place where the noise stops. He calls it downloading, sitting outdoors and just letting ideas come. You can't do that if you're scrolling.
Okay, so you find the quiet place. Then he says, grab notebook and pen. Any specific. Pen and paper. No laptops.
There's a cognitive difference there. And research backs this up. When you type, you're often just transcribing thoughts. But when you write by hand, it's slower. It forces you to synthesize. It engages a different part of the brain.
You're physically building the vision.
Just like you physically build a puzzle.
Okay, next step. Play your favorite music.
This is about state management. Music is a shortcut to emotion. If you're trying to figure out your emotional well-being puzzle while sitting in cold silence, your brain is in survival mode. Music unlocks the ability to dream.
And that leads to the final instruction in the setup. Open up and begin to dream. This goes right back to what we said about the box top.
This is the step most people skip. They jump straight to, I need to fix my finances, and they download a budgeting app.
That's just grabbing a piece and jamming it in.
Exactly. Hutchinson says you have to write the vision of your life down. You have to paint the box top first. If you don't know why you want financial security, is it for freedom? For generosity? For status? Then organizing the pieces is just busy work.
It sounds like he's asking us to be the architect before we're the builder.
Yes, exactly. And that requires a level of honesty that is deeply uncomfortable. It's easier to stay busy than to be visionary. It's easier to just shuffle pieces around than to ask, does this piece even belong in the picture I'm trying to build?
And I think that's where the subtitle comes in, finding peace amidst the pieces. Because if you're constantly just shuffling, there is no peace. There's just activity.
That is the critical distinction. Peace isn't the result of a finished puzzle. I mean, let's be honest. In life, the puzzle is never truly finished until you're gone.
Right. There's always a new piece. You fix your health, and then your car breaks down.
Exactly. So if you're waiting for completion to feel peace, you will be waiting forever. Hutchinson's peace comes from the process of sorting. It comes from looking at the mess and saying, I know what this picture is supposed to be, and I know where this piece goes.
Even if the rest of the table is a mess.
There's satisfaction in placing just one piece correctly.
It redefines success. Success isn't having it all together. It's knowing you're working on the right section.
And knowing that you haven't left any boxes gathering dust. The peace comes from integration. Knowing your spiritual, physical, and financial lives are all talking to each other, even if they aren't perfect.
This brings up a really practical question for you, the listener. We've talked about these 5 areas, and we've talked about the dusty box. I think everyone listening, everyone identified with that image.
It's the most haunting image in the book, I think.
So let's unpack that for a second. Why do we leave them there? Let's say I haven't touched my spiritual puzzle in 10 years. What is the friction that stops us from just taking the lid off?
It's the fear of the magnitude of the mess. When a box has been sitting for a decade, you know when you open it, some pieces are going to be warped. You know you've probably lost some.
And the picture you wanted to make has changed.
Right. Opening a dusty box is an admission of neglect. It requires grieving what you lost during those 10 years before you can even start building again. That's painful work.
But the alternative is what? Just leave it there until it's too late.
The alternative is a fragmented life. You can be rich, you can be physically fit, but if your relationships box is covered in cobwebs, you will feel that unsolved puzzle anxiety we started with. You will feel the draft coming through the holes in your life.
So Hutchinson's strategy, the quiet, the notebook, the dreaming, it seems like it's designed to make that opening process feel safe.
It creates a container. You're not doing it in public, not for an audience.
Yeah.
You're sitting quietly with music you love and just gently lifting the lid to see what's inside. It turns a trauma into a project.
Turns a trauma into a project. I like that. It makes it manageable.
It makes it actionable.
We've covered a lot of ground. We've looked at the dangers of the inherited box top, the friction between the 5 pillars, and the psychological need to actually design your life instead of just reacting to it.
It's a compelling framework. It moves self-help away from hustle and more toward alignment.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with the specific thought to chew on. We all nodded when we talked about the dusty box. You probably had a flash of an image in your head when we said it.
It's usually the first thing that pops into your mind.
Right. So think about those 5 areas: spiritual, physical, emotional, relationships, financial. Which one of those puzzles did you put back in the box years ago? Which one is currently sitting on a mental shelf, gathering dust because it became too confusing or too painful, or you just felt like you weren't good at it?
And don't just identify it. Ask yourself why the lid is still on.
Exactly. Is today the day you go into that quiet place, turn on some music, take the lid off, and just look at the pieces? You don't have to finish it today. You just have to be brave enough to open the box.
Happy solving.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.